show you how to make puff pastry. Puff pastry is a laminated dough, and typically when you use puff pastry, most people will just purchase it from the store. So if you needed it quickly for something like a turnover or a pie or something, you can buy puff pastry just like this. It's called convenience dough, and it's already pre-made. However, for the purpose of our unit, laminated doughs, we are going to show you, take you through the process of making laminated dough. You will make your own puff pastry, and then you will actually make it into a cookie. So this is going to take about 4 days. So I know that sounds like a long time, but the finished product will be amazing. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to gather your equipment. For this, you will need a dough scraper. You're going to need a rolling pin, and then you'll pre-measure your ingredients. So the first 2 ingredients I have pre-measured is flour and salt. So you don't do this in a bowl. You're actually going to do it on your work surface, and I've already combined the flour and the salt together. And you're just going to put it into a nice mound, all right? Then you are going to run your fingers down to create just a little hole in the center, so it's like you're creating its own bowl. And then you're going to add ice water, and the recipe calls for 2/3 cup of ice water. So what I did was I just filled up the entire liquid measuring cup with water and put some ice in it, and then I'm going to strain my 2/3 out, because if you put the ice into the dough or into the flour, it's going to be chunky. It will melt, but it's just easier to do this way. So then what you're going to do is, with your scraper, you're going to pour this and start moving it around and folding it in. Okay, and you're going to do this just to create your dough. All right, so I'm going to continue doing this, and I will show you the finished dough in one. So we're back. So I have incorporated all 2/3 cup of the ice cold water. So now it's kind of straggly, which is, it's supposed to look like this. So now what you're going to do is you're just going to start kneading it to make it come together and form a nice ball. If it's really straggly still, that's totally fine. It will all come together throughout the next step that we're going to be incorporating. So do not add more water. I know a lot of students are like, it's not coming together, I'm going to add more water. Please, please, please do not add more water. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of plastic wrap, okay, and you are going to put it around your ball of dough and twist, and then you're going to refrigerate this overnight. Alright, I'm going to show you the next thing in day 1 in just a second. So this is the second part of day 1. So we've already made our dough, and you're going to put it in the refrigerator, and then you're going to make what's called a butter square. So puff pastry is what we call laminated dough. What is lamination? Lamination is the process of folding solid fat into dry ingredients, and you create these flaky layers. Kind of almost like if you think of pie crust. But this is much more fatty, rich, and it has a lot more layers, which is what makes the puff pastry puff up and gives it that nice volume and height. So when you make a butter square, you have to use butter. So I know at both campuses we buy margarine for a lot of stuff, but for puff pastry, for any kind of laminated dough, which also falls into that category like chocolate croissants, you have to use butter. If you use margarine when it cooks, it just doesn't rise the same, it doesn't create the same lamination, so it has to be butter. So to create this, you're going to take 8 ounces of butter. Now 8 ounces of butter is 2 sticks. 1 stick is 4 ounces, 2 sticks is 8 ounces. Sometimes your teachers might buy it like this. This is a full pound, which you would cut in half and use the 8 ounces of it. So you are going to take your butter and put it directly onto your work surface. The recipe calls for you to incorporate the butter with 1 teaspoon of flour, but I'm only going to start mixing the butter with a ½ teaspoon of flour just to start the process. So to do that, you are going to take your dough scraper and you're going to start just chopping it up, just like so, and then you're actually going to start mashing it. Okay. Now, depending if this works obviously best with room temperature butter. This one is a little bit more cold, so I'm just going to work it more. So if you're using really cold butter, it will just take a little bit longer. And you're almost like forming it so it's like just a mushy like paste, all right? So once it starts coming together like so, it's really like mushy and you can work with it. I'm gonna incorporate my other half teaspoon of the flour, equaling 1 total teaspoon. So just like that, 1, 2. And then you're just gonna keep mashing it. You could do this with your hands. I just think it's quicker to do with one of these. If you don't have one of these in your classroom, you could do it with a rubber scraper. You could do it with a wooden spoon. You can do it with a butter knife, a straight edge spatula. Okay? So we are good there. So it's all nice and mixed together. So now we're going to move it aside and we're gonna form our butter square. So I'll be right back because I'm gonna wipe off my work area so I can show you how to put that back. So now I'm gonna put my butter, my big blob of butter that I just smashed out, into plastic wrap because you wanna form it into a butter square. So to do that, you're just going to pick up your butter, all right, and you're gonna form it into a 4 by 4 inch square. And it's really important for day 2, which is like the lamination process where you're folding the butter into the actual dough, when it says it needs to be 4 by 4, it needs to be 4 by 4. So to do that, you put your plastic wrap down flat, and then you're gonna kind of encase it into this plastic wrap by folding it over, just like that. And this will keep it really clean so it's not all over your hands. And you're gonna do 4 by 4 inches. So to do that, you just kind of even up your sides, like so. And it works so good when you're doing it inside the plastic wrap. And then you're gonna refrigerate this overnight. It will harden up, so then you'll put that solid piece of butter into your dough and it will make it easy for you to fold in. So you just wanna make sure, so if you look, I'm way too big. So I'm just going to kind of thicken this up. There, like so. So see, we're right at about 4 inches there. We want to make sure, perfect. So then we have our 4 by 4 square. And I will show you how to roll it out for day 2. All right, so we are back, and here's our finished dough. So it is stiffened up a little bit, and this is called a lean dough because I literally, if you recall, it is just the flour, cold water, and salt. And then this is our butter square, and you can see it's like it's hard, so that's what you want. All right, so you're gonna open this up, just like so, and now you are going to encase the butter square into here. So what you need to do is this needs to be rolled out to a 7 by 7 inch square. So you put just a little bit of your flour on your work surface. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. If you notice, I didn't do a lot. A lot of times students will dump like 2 cups on there and then all you're doing is drying out your dough. So to coat your rolling pin, you just go like this, kind of dust it around, so that's ready to go. Put that there and flip it over just a little bit more. And then we're gonna start rolling it out to a 7 by 7 inch square. Now remember, when it says a specific size, it means you really got to do a specific size. Sometimes when students are doing like a 7 by 7 inch square, they think they have to cut dough away. You're not cutting any dough away, you're just shaping it. So I'm just wanting to make sure that I have my length, and then I'll show you how I start doing the shaping. Okay, like so. So we're right at about 7 inches. So I'm going to start straightening it out like so. And then I'm going to start flattening this off and flattening this. Okay. About 7 by 7. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, clean edges or anything. You just want it that shape. So then you're going to open up your butter square. If it is still mushy, it's not ready. You want it to stay pretty solid. It will start loosening up during this folding lamination process. So day 2, you really just, it's a lot of folding. So when you put it on your dough, you're gonna put it like diagonal okay? And then you're gonna encase it kind of like a present or like an envelope, okay? So pull like this, like that, and then here, boom, press. So here you need to seal your edges, just like so, and then like so, and then like so. So you don't see any butter sticking out anywhere, all right? So I'm feeling my dough is a little bit sticky, so I'm just gonna put a little bit more flour down, and then I'm gonna flip this over to flatten it out, all right? Now you're gonna roll this out to be a 12 inches by 6 inch rectangle. So we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. So I rolled it out to about a 6 by 12 inch rectangle, just like so. Again, you want it, it doesn't have to be perfectly sharpened edges or anything. So you can kind of, if you look closely here, you can kind of see that the butter is inside of it. So that's like just one layer now. So we want to create more layers. So to do that, you are going to fold it 1/3 of the way, and then you're going to fold this other piece this way, all right, just like so. And then what you're gonna do, actually, I'm just kidding. We're gonna roll it out one more time, okay? So now you have that, you can see it's creating layers. So we're gonna roll this out again to be a 12 by 6 inch rectangle. So we'll be right back. So we're back. So I rolled it out this second time. So just like before, you're gonna fold it over like so, once, and then like that. So now we're creating even more layers. So now you're gonna do it 2 more times, but before you do that, the butter is starting to get to room temperature because you're working it so much, and it will pop out. So if it pops out as you're rolling it, you have to put, not a ton, but some flour on it, just to kind of dry it out. So then after you fold it like so, you're going to take it, put it in some plastic wrap it around, just like so, and then you're gonna put it in the freezer for about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much time you have in class. Right, so we're back, and we are still on day 2, so you have done 2 turns or 2 foldings on your dough, and then you put it in the freezer to let it chill, and now I'm gonna roll it out again 2 more times. So I am going to just remind you to flour both sides. I can tell that the butter is still kind of soft, so you're just gonna have to go slow. We'll be right back. So we're back. So we are now, you've completed the dough, you made the butter square, we encased the dough with the butter square, and then you have completed 4 divots, turnings, foldings, whatever you want to call it, of the dough. So now we're on day 3, and you actually have to do 2 more of the rolling and folding to create all of the layers, which is the process of lamination. So just to reiterate, this just came out of the fridge, so it's nice and cold. You put flour down, all right? Put flour here, you put flour here. So at the beginning when you started folding, it was really easy because you just had a single layer of dough. Now because you have all these layers and you keep folding it, you're creating, it's a lot more tough. So you're gonna have to really work with it, and you might get frustrated. It will be fine, all right? So again, you're going to go, and you can like kind of see all the folding and the layers, and you're going to be pressing. Let's see it more on my side. You can like see that butter, that lamb is creating the layers, and you can see that's really sticky. So you're just gonna put some flour down, like so. And then I'm just gonna put a little more flour down, flip it, and I'm gonna roll it out again to 12 by 6. And then I'm going to do the folding again, and I'm gonna do it again, so you're doing it 2 more times for a total of 6 times. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, so we are going to now make the pecan pie. So again, every table is making a different type of pie filling, and you're gonna be sharing with the whole, you're gonna be presenting your pie and sharing with the whole class. So pecan pie is a nut pie, and if you've never had it before, it's amazing. It's almost like you're making a caramel, and it's simply to die for. Even if you don't like pecans, I would still like give it a taste because it is probably one of the best pies you'll ever eat. And our pie recipe is phenomenal. So the first thing you're going to do is you pour the corn syrup into a bag, into the bowl, so sorry. We sell this pie, if you were to take advanced catering, we sell this pie also at the Thanksgiving pie sale. And when we make them, we pre-measure a whole ton of bags, and then you just mix them all. You have to mix them individual servings, or else what happens is you don't have the right ratio. So you put your corn syrup in there, and then you put your 2/3 cup of sugar, and then you're going to put 3 eggs, 3 whole eggs. This recipe is pretty easy. The trick to this recipe is the baking, because if you overcook it, it turns to like a very, very hard, like solid caramel material, and then you wouldn't be able to eat it. Okay, so to that, I'm just going to mix it up till it's combined. And when you make the pecan, you'll put the filling in a single crust shell, which we'll show you after the filling's done. Okay. And the sugar's not going to melt because you are going, that it will melt as you bake it. You just don't want any chunks, just like so. And then you're going to put 2 tablespoons of melted butter, which I just melted this in the microwave. When you melt it in the microwave, please make sure that you don't let it explode. It only takes about 10 to 20 seconds. And then you, if it does explode, you need to wipe the microwave. All right, just like so. And then you are going to add in your 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And this just gives it a nice flavor. And then you're going to add in 6 ounces of pecans. And we use whole shell pecans, all right? You can use chopped too. Sometimes buying the chopped ones in bulk is cheaper. Mix this all together. And then this is ready to go in the pie shell. So this is a really fast, quick, and easy pie. And we'll show you the trick, because sometimes this burns, we'll show you the trick to preventing it from burning. So we are back. Just to recap what we did, on day 1 of the puff pastry, we made our lean dough and we made our butter square, we chilled them, and then we let it sit overnight. On day 2, you performed 4 folds of your puff pastry, creating the lamination and the layers. On day 3, you did 2 more of the folding processes, and then you were getting ready for this final day 4 of the shaping. So we are going to now use our puff pastry to make Palmiers, which is a cookie, and they're really good. And we use turbinado sugar as part of the filling. Turbinado sugar, it's a natural raw sugar cane, and it's really good. You see it in little packets at Starbucks. You can buy it for baking. It doesn't melt as much as regular sugar. And then we are going to put a pinch of salt right into there. And the reason why we add salt is just to balance out the flavors, okay? So then what you're gonna do is we're gonna take a 1/2 cup of our sugar. I'm gonna put a little more. Okay, and this is what's crazy about this, is now you're going to put it onto your work surface, so make sure it's clean. Okay, and then what you're going to do is, here is our puff pastry dough that has been folded and turned 6 times, all right? So it should be nice and smooth and beautiful looking like mine does. And then you are going to put it right down, all right? So this is what we often do when we use sugar, is we sprinkle it. This is not about sprinkling sugar around. It's about getting a nice coating of sugar on the bottom. All right, so you're literally like, you want to press it down. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to roll this out, and we want it to be a 13-inch square. So you just keep rolling it, and make sure you have your ruler, and you'll be measuring, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. We'll be right back. Alright, so we are back, and it is about 13 by 13. Again, it's not going to be perfectly rounded edges, but that's fine. I just want you to take a look. So I had that sugar all on the table, and as you're rolling it out, you want to make sure that all of that sugar is sticking to the dough. So you can kind of see that here. And the reason why we do it this way is so that the sugar is on the top and the bottom. So now what you're going to do is you are going to take the remaining of your sugar and you're going to put it right on the top, just like so. All right, so it's on the top and the bottom, and spread it around. All right, just like this. And then what you're going to do, just for a final roll, just going to roll it like that. And then you're going to take your dough, fold it in this way, like so, and then in again this way, just like that, and then you're going to fold it again, like that, and then you're going to fold it again, like that, okay? So you will have 6 layers, all right? And we'll be right back because I'm going to get it right back. So if you notice when you're folding it sometimes, the edges don't always come to this to the end. So you kind of just want to lightly pull the dough so it's all even when you make your slices. So now we're going to start making our slices, and to do that you can just use a knife, and you're going to make them about, kind of just flatten off your edges like so, and then I'm going to flatten off this edge. And then you want them to be even. So you should be able to get about 16 slices. So start in the middle, kind of like when you make the cinnamon rolls for Javicino. Okay, so we have 4. You can go back through like that. If I just started cutting, they're not going to be equal, so now they're going to be pretty equal and uniform. Remember, uniformity is key when you're making baked products, just like so. If it's sticky, just keep working through it, just like so. Okay, and our last one. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna put it on your baking pan, and you're just gonna kind of flatten it, okay? These will puff up more than they will actually spread, but you still want to make sure that you're putting them about 1.5 inches apart from each other. So essentially you're going to do 4 by 4 on your baking sheet, all right? And then you're going to bake these in a 450-degree oven for about 3 to 5 minutes until they're golden brown. I'll show you what they look like when they're done. We're back with the Palmiers. So they will cook. They might take a little bit longer. In the recipe it says that you're going to cook them for 6 minutes, and then you're going to actually flip them over, and then you're going to cook them for another 3 to 5 minutes. It might take a little longer depending on if the oven is preheated or not. So the finished product should look like, it will be a golden brown, not too light. If they're too light, they're going to be like flimsy, and then the sugar is going to melt a little bit, but still stay somewhat solid. And then you can see, if you look closely, you'll see all the layers, and they've puffed up just a little bit, not too much. And what kind of prevented them from puffing up more is the sugar. If there wasn't as much sugar, they would have puffed up a lot more, but because of all that butter and that sugar, kind of caramelized them, and it makes them like a hard cookie. It's a perfect cookie that you could dip in coffee, and they would go great at catering events. So I hope you enjoy.